With the 18th pick in the 2019 draft, the Minnesota Vikings select Garrett Bradbury, center, North Carolina State.
I can promise you there are a lot of teams picking in the 20s that are upset that Garrett Bradbury is now off the board. So Viking fans, skol yourselves, skol all the way. This kid is interesting. He graduated in 3.5 years with a 3.7 GPA in supply chain information systems. There is Garrett Bradbury. Oh, by the way, he also could have been a very, very good baseball player. In fact, he once told me, if you thought I was going to play center, I would ask you, where am I playing college baseball? Because that's what I really wanted to do. Garrett Bradbury could have been a very, very good baseball player. Was a catcher as well as first base at Charlotte Christian High School in North Carolina. And he said one of the things he loves about playing center is the exact same thing he loved about being a catcher. I get my hands on the ball, Mel, on every play.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, you think about an athlete, and that's what Bradbury is. He's a good technician, he's a smart football player, great character. Ryan Finley, the quarterback, you have him as your anchor, you know you can do some damage. You look at a guy like Bradbury, nice blocks on the move. I love his awareness. Overpowered, you would think, in the NFL is going to be the concern by those huge, massive defensive tackles, but it's not a major issue. I'm sure the Rams, as you guys said, know there's some teams late in the first round, a little disappointed he was gone, but he's the kind of guy for the Vikings. That offensive line was a mess, and Bradbury's got to be a key guy and anchor that group and improve that group moving forward.
As far as the center, he was the best reach blocker in this draft, the guy that can come out and reach the nose guard. And when you understand what Zimmer wants to do, Mike Zimmer, and you understand the philosophy they want to employ in Minnesota. They want to run the football. They want to get Dalvin Cook one cut and coming downhill. Well, if you want to do that, what must you have? You better have a center that can reach a nose guard and get to the second level. A big athlete that can move in space is what you have in this center.
Well, listen,
with the 50th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Minnesota Vikings select Irv Smith, tight end from Alabama.
Well, first of all, great to see Hall of Famer Carl Eller, but this is a really, really good pick. Irv Smith Sr., as you see the reaction from Irv Smith Jr. there at Alabama saying, we're good. His dad was a first-round selection in the 90s with the New Orleans Saints, and he has bragging rights over his son. But the bloodlines are strong in the Irv Smith family. There you see his dad playing tight end from 93 to 99. A lot of people, Mel, thought Irv Smith Jr. might go late in the first round, maybe even to New England with the lack of Ron Gronkowski there.
You're exactly right. He could have been a pick between 20 and 32, and nobody would have argued. You talk about fourth on a team with 44 catches, but a 16.1-yard average. Set the Alabama single-season touchdown reception mark by a tight end with 7. The body control he shows is outstanding. He's got really good hands. He's adept at finding open areas in the defense. And I like the way he blocks on the move. So you look at a guy who can stretch the deep middle. He is a multi-dimensional tight end, Todd. For today's NFL, I love the kid. And to get him at 50, now is a weapon. Here's a big-time weapon for Kirk Cousins.
Rick Spielman went all in on Kirk Cousins last year, and he realized, okay, we finished 19 in scoring offense. This is not what we signed up for. We've got to improve our offensive line. Check that box with the center in the first round, Garrett Bradbury out of NC State, and we've got to get more versatile weapons. We've got the 2 guys at wide receiver and Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen, but we've got to get some more pieces to create those mismatches, and that's what Irv Smith does. I'll tell you the one thing that he does better than any tight end in this class: run after catch.
Right.
Yeah, he is a dynamite route runner. You're absolutely right. Run after the catch is fantastic. His versatility to be able to play wide.
Get those bikes out here. Yes, indeed. Skol. Okay, with the 102nd pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Minnesota Vikings select Alexander Madison, running back, Boise State.
By the way, again, Steve Jordan is Camford Alexander Madison. I thought wrestling was supposed to help offensive linemen. We've now seen Rock Ya-Sin, a cornerback, be a wrestler, and Alexander Madison, a running back. And of course, it was also a 110-meter title in high school as well. So this is a kid that had all kinds of ability and all kinds of production at Boise State.
Hey, let me tell you something, Trey. This is one of the toughest players in this year's draft. I covered the conference championship game against Fresno State. He got knocked out. I mean, knocked out cold. And I'm not promoting it, but the coaches were trying to get him to stay off the field, and he just absolutely wanted to have nothing to do with it. He was a workhorse the last couple of years. 657 touches, and it's not just all carries. While that's what he does best, and he's an inside runner and a pounder, he had 70 catches too. So he's a player that can come in, he can be in every down back for you. I'm not saying he's going to be a starter, but I think the Vikings get a really good backup and rotational player who can stay on the field in third downs because he can protect.
Yeah, he has some wiggle. People say, well, he's not that elusive. I saw some wiggle.
To the Baltimore Ravens. I am shocked that another offensive lineman from Oklahoma is drafted, Lou. Drew Samia going to Minnesota.
Mike Zimmer wants to run the football, right? He got mad last year when they wouldn't run the football enough. Now they draft two offensive linemen, Garrett Bradbury in the first round, and now Drew Samia here in the fourth. Look, Drew has some work to do at right guard, and guard is exactly where he's going to play, and guard is exactly where Minnesota is deficient. And you see here in the highlights, you're going to see the best of him. When he can lock onto you and get his big body in front of you and just steer you where he wants, then he's effective. The problem is when you get him against a good three technique that can move his feet, Drew gets top heavy, he drops his head, and all of a sudden someone edges him and they have him beat, and the quarterback's getting put on the ground. That's not what they want. They're going to have to make sure that he can play with a better bent knee position, get some movement off the ball.
Gentlemen, the Elon Phoenix are off the board. Olaseki Mika Odu, the offensive lineman, is now drafted. He goes to Minnesota. At one point, Oliudo was 384 pounds. He's now down to about 323 at the combine thanks to serious treadmill work.
That's the thing, Trey. You think about where he can be. Yeah, he's a developmental offensive lineman. Obviously, you think about the size that he brings to the table. Can he maintain it at 6'5"? Maintain that weight between 320 and 330. He's got tremendously long arms. The longest arms for just about any offensive tackle in this draft. Ran a 5.05, 26 reps. And he tests well. An offensive line coach looks at that, looks at the way he played at the lower level competition, Todd, says, hey, I can make this kid maybe a starting offensive tackle in the NFL.
Listen, it's fascinating because he's an exercise science major with a minor in biology. He was considering medical school, thought he was going to be an NFL team doctor, and he says, quote, it's definitely awesome. I don't have to go through 14 years of school to be around the NFL, end quote. He's not a team doctor. Hopefully he won't need a team doctor now that he's with the Minnesota Vikings, Luke.
You know, another team that's trying to fill their needs as far as positions that weren't positions of strength for them, particularly on the offensive line. They got maybe the best offensive center in this draft, if not the best offensive center in this draft, in Garrett Bradbury. And as far as tight ends concerned, Irv Smith is going to be, he's the future for them. He is definitely the future as far as being a multi-positional, versatile weapon to really help Kirk Cousins go ahead and maybe take the next step. And offensive linemen, you can't have enough of them because you just never know when you're going to hit on one, because offensive line coaches, that's where they make the difference at the professional level as compared to the college level.
Dante Scarnecchia is the epitome of that. There's no question about that. Meanwhile, next announcement from Columbus, Ohio, pick 194. Receiver out of Colorado State.
Yeah, Trey, we were talking during the break. You would think Preston Williams would have been gone. Preston Williams, super talented, came over from Tennessee, but some concerns about off the field, didn't have the great pro day. You look at old BC Johnson, he was a productive entity, not as gifted as Preston Williams, but made some tough, difficult catches. You see the body control there. 6'1", 205 pounder. He's got huge hands, short arms, ran 4.51, vertical 38. Talent's there. He's a highly motivated kid. He was the one that I think made those impactful catches. Williams made the splash plays as well. It'll be interesting to see if Preston Williams gets to a camp Like I said, he's like Vontaze Burfict. Remember, Burfict had to battle his way in as an undrafted free agent. Williams could be the offensive version of that. Olabisi Johnson drafted in the 7th round. Let's see how he does compared to his former teammate, Preston Williams. Once they're in camps, we see if talent wins out with Preston Williams.
All right, so back-to-back picks for errors.